Hey there, Skeleton Key here. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you are joining me live, feel free to pop into the chat and say hi. Let me know what you're reading, how that's going for you. Talk about other books and everything. And I hope all is well in your world. I keep seeing all these really alarming weather reports all over the country, and yeah, I hope you're not being impacted by that. And also, if you are watching on the replay, there's a comments section. So yeah, hop into the comments and we can chat there too. So this is mostly going to be about the last 2 weeks because yeah, I was not able to get a video up last week. A lot of stuff going on, and I had a death in the family, and was not able to travel to go to the funeral, but still, it's but anyway, trying to get a little back on track for the month. Yeah, the April has been off to kind of a rough start, but let's just take a look at. So in the past 2 weeks, I have finished 5 books. So I have been doing a lot of reading. I've got a bunch of books that I've been reading all at once. It's like, I've got one on Kindle, I've got one on Libro, I've got, yes. So, and I've got a stack of library books. So, but let's take a look at the 5 that I did finish. All right, so starting with, yeah, the first 5 days I was just reading lots of different things, but I did finish The Secret Path by Christopher Pike. And that is the first book in the Spooksville series. And I read this for one of the Readathons, the old school April Readathon, which is, it's more of it's a nostalgia-thon. So it is all sorts of things. And I'm doing 6 Readathons this month. Fortunately, there is a ton of crossover. Just about anything I read will fit into something for old school April. But some of the prompts are very, very specific. And one of them, I can't remember I think it was to read either a Fear Street book or a Spooksville book. So this was available on Hoopla. And so it is about a guy, Adam, who's just moved to the small town of Springville, and he meets some people. Some of them, well, they're all strange. All of them are strange. Some are stranger than others. And anyway, Sally explains it. Well, we call it Spooksville. The kids do, because we recognize how weird this town is and all the spooky goings on that happen here. And then somehow they meet somebody else, or she introduces him to somebody else, and then they start talking about the secret path. And it's like, oh, hey, let's go find the secret path, which, doesn't really sound like a great idea, but they do it anyway. And it is a wild ride. And there's lots of very, very spooky stuff. And there's lots of good nightmare fodder in here. And it's... the narrative just kind of it just goes all over the place, but and it felt a little bit like a board game, and I kind of wonder. I don't know enough about. Yeah, this came out in 1995, so I don't know a lot about 90s pop culture. I'm a little old for that, so I don't know but it kind of felt like maybe it was supposed to be like a board game, so maybe there's also a board game based off of this, or this is I don't know. But I don't really mean that in a bad way. It was just for what it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I had a good time with that. Let's see. Going back. And then the second book I finished was Orbital. And okay, so I read this for my little read along or judge along or whatever you want to call it that I'm doing with the BookTube Prize, even though I'm not judging the BookTube Prize this year because I recognize that, well, you know, obviously it's April and I'm still working on the Octafinals book. So I knew straight up that I was not going to be able to commit to that for judging this year. It's 24 hours in the International Space Station in near its in the end of its life. I heard the last date I had heard was that in 2035 they're going to decommission it and disassemble it and let it fall into the atmosphere. Lately, I've been hearing rumblings that the replacement station won't be ready by 2035, so they're trying to extend the life of the current International Space Station. So I don't know what exactly is going on with that, where they're at with that. But this, I believe when this was written, they were still looking at 2035. So I would say this is one of the last space station missions of its kind before the program is dismantled. So I would say this is probably set in like 2034, 2035, thereabouts. And it's, there's not really a plot. I mean, things happen. And it's not even really character studies. It's very contemplative. It's these astronauts and cosmonauts just kind of looking at the Earth and the cosmos and philosophizing, or, you know, just talking about the realities of their existence on the space station, talking about some of the history. Also, there's some flashbacks to, you know, there's a storm system, there's a typhoon developing. They do see that, and that is almost a character. So that's the only real, I don't know, conflict or antagonist, I guess you could say, in the story. That, and I mean, there is a death in somebody's family. I mean, I don't want to, I don't know if it's spoilers to say this stuff, but I don't think so. It doesn't feel spoilery. And I think you learn about that pretty early on. So, but there's not really any specific conflict or anything. I mean, astronauts and cosmonauts are selected basically. Part of it is they're selected for their ability to get along and problem solve, and but anyway, I all through the time I was reading this, I was like, okay, I have to know what Elliot thinks of it, and Elliot has not read it yet, so we'll see what they think if they read it. But because Elliot is very, very knowledgeable about all things aerospace, and it's very interesting. I really did enjoy it. But at this point, I'm basically comparing it, as far as to for my pseudo judging of the BookTube Prize. I am And I should probably, where's it? Octafinals. Yeah. So here looking at the Octafinals Group B, this is the opening round. So there's Orbital and there's Yellowface. And I have only read Yellowface. So this is what, so starting with Yellowface, it's like, yeah, I gave it 4 stars. I also gave Orbital 4 stars. And of course, you know me, my star ratings are kind of nonsense. I mean, they're just gut feelings. I just go with my gut and go, oh, okay, yeah, this feels like a 4-star read. And, or 4.25 or 4.5 round down or something. Yeah, anyway, take my star ratings with a grain of salt. But even though I still don't know how I feel about the ending for Yellowface, I felt like it had a lot to it. There was a lot to dig into there. Anyway, so I just kind of put it in the number 3 slot. Number 1, 2, and 3 would go on to the quarterfinals if I were actually judging. If once you aggregate all of the judges, but you know what I mean. And then 4, 5, and 6 are ones that I would not say go through. So I just, it's like, okay, let's just stick Yellowface in the number 3 slot because, yeah, I wouldn't be mad if it went through. And then, so comparing Orbital to that, would I put it in the 2 slot above it or the 4 slot below it? I really don't feel, this was very short, 16 chapters, 1 for each orbit. It felt like a very meaningful book in its way, but also kind of limited because it was very much a book about people thinking about things. It was the prose was gorgeous. So if you do appreciate good descriptive phrasing or descriptions of descriptions, this might be the book for you. It says a novel. It's more of a novella. It is fiction, but it doesn't even really feel like fiction. It doesn't feel like a story. So I am gonna put it in the number 4 slot so that, at this point, I would not send it through. I would send Yellowface through, but not Orbital, because Orbital just doesn't feel like a fully developed novel. And I might feel a little bit differently if they'd actually called it a novella, but even then, it doesn't really have that. I don't know. And I hate to say this because I kind of rag on literary fiction, but it doesn't really have that literary quality to it, even though the style is very literary, but it's very meditative, and it's just, I don't really feel like it belongs in the next round. But, I may change if I find 3 of these books that I really dislike, and I put them below Orbital, then Orbital will get bumped up into the send through. But we'll see. Right now I am reading Northwoods, and I have obtained copies of the other 3, Family Meal, The Maniac, and Absolution. So, and I've never read anything by these authors before, and don't really know much about them. So, and let's see, going back to this. Let's see, Two Bad Ants, and I will come back to Two Bad Ants. I read that one as well for the Old School April Readathon, and that's the only one of these 5 that I have a hard copy of, so I'll show that to you. So we'll move on to Lavender House, and This is the first in a series. I have already told the Libby to let me know when they get it on audiobook. I listened to the audiobook, really liked the narrator. And it's set, okay, in 1952. I knew it was early 50s, and I couldn't remember if it was 52 or 53. But this is set in San Francisco in 1952. Our sleuth is a former cop. He just got kicked off the force because not only was he gay, but they found him in a men's room at a gay club. And, so they kicked him off the force, and he's so the story opens with him in, just basically in a bar, just drinking a lot, and contemplating suicide, and because his life is pretty much over as far as he's concerned. And until a woman in the bar comes up to him and offers him a job. Her wife died recently, and she wants to hire him to prove it was murder and find the murderer. So he winds up at Lavender House, and turns out she's the matriarch of this. She isn't, but her wife. It wasn't, of course, same-sex marriage wasn't legal, but they consider themselves wives. And but her wife was the matriarch of a soap empire, and her favorite scent was lavender. And anyway, this Lavender House that he goes to, and he's so then it kind of turns into this country house mystery, and it's and it's not an isolated closed circle mystery exactly. It kind of is, but that's not what it's meant to be. It's Knives Out with a queer historical twist that's pretty accurate. Not quite as lighthearted, I guess, as Knives Out got at times, but it's a house full of queer people, and he fits right in some ways, but very much not in others. And it's a very interesting exploration of that world in that time period, and the conflicts that you run into just by existing. And the mystery's pretty good too. So I definitely look forward to reading more in this series. And let's see. And then Caffeine. So I'm doing the 52 book club, their reading challenge. It's an annual thing, but they have monthly mini challenges. And so this mini challenge opened with a Rickroll. Anyway, I did not just I can't remember how exactly I bypassed that, but somehow I got to the mini challenge without being Rickrolled. But the prompts are and they're sort of open-ended prompts, but never gonna give you up, so the lyrics. So this is my Never Gonna Give You Up book. Caffeine, How Caffeine Created the Modern World, by Michael Pollan. And okay, so this is a short little Audible freebie thing. He makes some really good points, and especially it's 2 hours long. he does make some really interesting points. Sometimes he'd go off in these tangents, and I wasn't quite so sure about those. He does talk a lot about the history of coffee and coffee plantations and a lot of the awfulness that goes along with that. And a lot of it I did already know from a book called Coffee Land that I read, a couple years ago. And it's a drier book and a much longer book, but that one is worth a read if you really aren't interested in knowing a lot about the history of coffee and how the coffee industry works. This doesn't quite go into that level of detail. It's only he only has 2 hours, but he does quite a bit with that 2 hours. I gave it 3 stars because this is the first Michael Pollan book I've read, and I don't really like him. He just rubbed me the wrong way, and maybe there is a lot of self-insertion. You know, he's talking about his own struggle with, oh, I'm gonna give up caffeine for blah blah blah, and I'm like, I don't know. It's like, you know, I kind of don't care about you, Michael. Sorry, but yeah, there's a lot of self-insertion in there, and I wasn't really here for that. But I did learn some things, and overall, it was, and I think I had it on double speed. So yeah, this was a good use of an hour of my day. So sure. All right, let's see. Talk about Two Bad Ants. And, well, actually, while I've got this up, I will talk a little bit about I'm just going to kind of give you a quick idea of what the readathons are. I've told you a little bit about Old School April, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. So there's also TBR Clear Out, and I did a separate video just about Old School April and TBR Clear Out reading. The only thing from here that counts for TBR Clear Out is actually caffeine. So I'm only one book into that. People April, and I do have links below, or I tried to update it to put the links in, so I'll double check that later. But People April is to read things about real people. So I haven't actually finished. I have started Autism in Heels, which is sort of a memoir about being an autistic woman. And of course, prior to that, an autistic girl. And so, yeah, growing up female and autistic, yeah, that's fun. She said with a grimace. And what else? I am planning to read Dangerous Water, which is a biography of Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens, by Ron Powers, I believe. Yeah. And let's see. Oh, Way Out There, which I had also talked about for TBR Clear Out, and also Old School April. I'm still planning to read Way Out There. And then Spring into Horror, basically everything with, it's horror, but Michelle recognizes that some people have really low thresholds for horror. So basically anything with like a mystery or a secret or something like that would count. So The Secret Path definitely counts. There's some pretty horror. Yeah, I would call it horror. And then Lavender House, and there is some violence in Lavender House because, he actually runs into some of his former colleagues at one point, and that does not go well. But yeah, it's very noir, very mid-century noir. So that counts. Orbital does not have enough of a plot to count. Too Bad Ants? Maybe? Maybe? I don't know. And caffeine would be a stretch. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Tomes and Treasures, and I've printed out the thingamajig. Oh, but I do have yeah, so, and I've linked to one of the videos below. But anyway, this is the New Adventurer's Handbook and the appendix, and this shows all the prompts, and this is really complicated, and it doesn't have to be strictly during the month of April. There are yeah, but anyway, if you like D&D influenced readathons, definitely check this out. And there, I think, is also like a D&D tag book tag that I have not looked at yet. But yeah, so maybe I'll end up doing that. But there's, oh my gosh, there are so many prompts. So I'm pretty sure most, if not all, of these 5 books will fit into this somehow. It's kind of like old school April in that regard. So now I think that's all I really had for that as far as sharing stuff. So now I'll talk about Too Bad Ants. And this is a host pick. And this is by Chris Van Aldsberg, who wrote Jumanji and I forget a bunch of other stuff. And he has a very distinctive artistic style. And anyway, so this is about an ant colony where some ants in the colony bring back some sugar crystals for their queen. And everyone's talking about how amazing these sugar crystals are. And anyway, so these 2 bad ants decide they're going to go get some for themselves. And so there's, this track. Well, they all go to get sugar crystals, but the 2 bad ants decide to stay behind in the sugar bowl. This isn't working. There we go. And they learn some very hard lessons about being greedy and straying from the group out of greed. And my big takeaway is that ants are pretty much indestructible. If you have ants in your kitchen, yeah, they're anyway. But that's that. And yeah, really cute illustrations, really cute story. It I like his stuff. I love Jumanji, so yeah, maybe for old school April I'll rewatch Jumanji. See if I can find that streaming somewhere. And let's see. Oh, and then the other readathon there, because there are 6, not 5. I think in my last, I just fixed my previous live show that I said there were in the description said there were 5. No, there's 6 readathons. But the Autism Acceptance Readathon. So yeah, that it's autism acceptance, not awareness, because being aware and accepting are very different things. But Autism in Heels counts for that. And I do have several others. I don't know. For some reason, somehow I've gotten onto sort of a Kansas City related kick. And I keep reading books that are set or mention Kansas City, like Adam in the Spooksville book. He had just moved to California from Kansas City. And then I'm reading a book written by an autistic author Anyway, the point of autism awareness or autism acceptance readathon is to read books by actually autistic authors. And there's M.N. Jolly. I know the last name is Jolly, Jolley, but it's a fantasy book set in Kansas City, and so I'm really looking forward to reading that. And I can't remember the initials. M.N. Jolly, I think, or maybe N.M. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And several other things. So yeah, the Autism in Heels, that's a nonfiction pick. There are 4 prompts for that one. And I printed it out, and I don't know. I have a stack of papers here, and it's in there somewhere. Yeah. Anyway, but I don't have a lot really nailed down. I need to go through and see how I'm doing in each of these readathons, because I've passed the midpoint of the month, so I should kind of take stock of that. I am also planning to include, or I am planning to do another live, at least one more live this week. It may not be till Sunday, but anyway, hopefully to kind of do a sort of a March or a first quarter wrap up kind of thing. I see other people doing the first quarter crisis tag, and I don't know. A lot of the prompts in that tag, I'm like, huh? I don't really, that's not how my reading life works. So I probably won't be doing that tag, but I would still like to do sort of a first quarter review of where I'm at, because I do a lot of challenges and things, and see where I am. But I also do have a big announcement coming up. I will be doing Mysterious Mayhem again this year, and that will be for the entire month of May. And so I'm working with the design team over at Chad Parker Silver and Silversmith to get some printables and everything all set and ready to go. And yeah, I need to get that all finalized and available to everybody, and put out an announcement video sometime soon. So probably within the next week. And that's all I've got for now. So again, I hope everything is good in your world, and I'll see you later this week and again next week. So talk at you later.